right, I'm going to show you how to work out these proofs so that hopefully if you have any questions, they get answered, and it's kind of easy to see how they work, and you can pause and rewind this if you would like. That way you can see things over and over if you need to. All right, the very first thing that we are going to look at is what is given on this, and that's always what you should write first. So the very first thing that you're given is that AB is congruent to CD. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that. AB and CD are the two sides on the left and the right, and that is given. The next thing you need to look at is what is my next given. It does give me more than one. So I did the first one in purple. I'm going to do the second one in pink. It says BC is congruent to DA, and that is another given. And so I'm going to go ahead and mark that. BC is the top side and DA is the bottom side. So go ahead and mark those with 2 tick marks. So then you want to look for what do we have left. We can't say our triangles are congruent yet, but so we always want to look for vertical angles or reflexive property. And you'll see that this diagonal of this parallelogram can be marked as congruent to itself. We're going to write it as BD congruent to BD, and that is by reflexive property because it is congruent to itself and it's in both triangles. And now remember our 5 options are side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, and angle, angle, side, and HL. Those are our 5 choices. And with this, since we have 3 sets of sides marked, we can say that triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CDB by side, side, side. And I get this triangle congruent statement right here from the proof statement. I just copy it down and then use one of these 5 reasons. Hopefully this helps you. I am going to do the next one as well. So that one does have 2 different ways to do it. So I'm going to show it both ways. All right, looking at this one, you want to look at what you are given. The very first thing we are given is that triangle ACB is isosceles. And that's a given. We'll talk about what that gives you in a minute because you can't mark anything yet. And then you're given that D is the midpoint of AB. Also, can't mark anything yet, but that is what you were given. It does give you some things. So, very first thing I want to look at is what I can do with that D is the midpoint. So remember, midpoint splits it into 2 equal pieces. So D is going to be the midpoint, so I can mark these 2 bottom pieces congruent. So I can say AD is congruent to BD. Remember, order is important by definition of midpoint. The next thing I can say is because this is does have that middle side that's shown to you for both of them. Actually, only needs 2 tick marks. We can say that CD is congruent to CD. That's going to be reflexive property. Then, and you're actually going to end up needing a 6th one for this way to do it. The other one only needs 5, but that's okay. For step 5, we know that it's an isosceles triangle, so we can say that AC is congruent to BC by definition of isosceles triangle. And that, remember, an isosceles triangle says that it has 2 sides that are congruent. So those are going to be my 2 congruent sides. So now I can say that triangle ACD is congruent to triangle BCD by side, side, side. If you did this another way, there is a way to get side, angle, side, and that's what I'm going to show you next. All right, looking at this one, I went ahead and already wrote the givens. They're the same givens as the last way that I did this. What I am going to show you here is that we're going to use still that D is the midpoint, so it still gives you the AD. AD is congruent to BD, and that's still a definition of midpoint. So I'm still going to mark those the same. But this time I'm actually going to take 2 things from the fact that it's isosceles. So I'm going to have the AC is congruent to BC, and angle A is congruent to angle B, because those are 2 things that you can get here. You can get those base angles congruent, and those sides congruent, and that is all done by definition of isosceles. You can list this out separate if you want. And then that gives you that the triangles are congruent by side, angle, side. So triangle ACD is congruent to triangle BCD by side, angle, side. You could do both of them in 6 steps. It doesn't matter if you write it together or not. Either way, it's fine as long as you include all the things that you need. But remember, if you don't see how I'm getting side, angle, side, you have a set of sides, you have a set of angle, you have a set of sides. So side, angle, side. Hopefully this helped you. If you do need to rewind it and look at it, that's fine. Don't forget I do have office hours tomorrow before your test. Make sure you're asking for help. Have a good night, guys.